This is the G20. A big thank you to Honiture for sending this out to me for free for review. The G20 is their latest in robotic vacuum cleaner technology, which comes in at a really compelling price point. Right now on Amazon, this thing is just £250, but they do have a £110 discount voucher, which brings it down to just £140. Now, for that price, you get a ton of technology, and I think this might well be one of the best priced to performance for robotic vacuum cleaners on the market right now. So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this thing, get it out of its box, and I'm going to give you a full review and tell you whether I think the G20 is truly worth that £100 to £200 price point. So here we are with the actual box. Now this is one of the first things you're probably going to notice about this vacuum cleaner, in that it is white and silver. Now there aren't a ton of vacuum cleaners on the market that have this kind of colour scheme. A lot of them are black, very industrial and pretty boring to look at. There's something actually quite elegant about this one, particularly when you're looking at the box on the front there. Anyway, let's take a look around the box and see what else we can discover about this vacuum cleaner. Now, there is a ton of information here. Let's just take a look. You can see the manufacturer address, really not that important. On that side, we're seeing another lovely look at the box there as well. And on this side, it's going to give you a little bit about the contents, including its charging dock, the robotic vacuum cleaner itself, a power adapter, as well as some roller brushes and all of the other requirements that you're going to need to get this up and running. Anyway, without further ado, let's try and remove this box and show you what's actually inside and what you're going to get for your money. Okay, so the first thing we actually get in the box here is this little piece of card. Actually, I'm not going to say it's little, this big piece of card here. And basically what it's suggesting is how we get all of this set up with Wi-Fi. This is, of course, a robotic vacuum cleaner that connects to your network and has all of the smart features that you would expect from a vacuum cleaner like this. So of course, it's asking you to download the Honiture app on either iOS or Android, and it really is pretty simple. We'll go through all of the setup process in a minute, but let's remove this piece of card and take a look at what else we get in the box. But of course, before we continue with this video, if this is the first time that you're seeing my face on your screen, then one, lucky you. And two, go down there, hit that subscribe button, smash that bell notification icon so you get notified every time I upload. But without further ado, let's carry on with this review. Okay, so right on the top, we of course get instruction manuals. You really shouldn't need this. Once you've connected it up to the app, it's all pretty self-explanatory. But if you do need them, then they are there, and you'll also have all your warranty details in there if anything were to go wrong. We of course have the Hoover itself, but we're going to take a look at some of the extra bits first. We of course get this magnet. These magnets are actually super duper useful. Basically what you do with these is you place these under the carpets or around areas that you do not want the robot going. For example, there's a lot of wires and lights and things underneath my main TV unit. I probably wouldn't want this Hoover going under here, or any Hoover for that matter, because it's just going to chew up the wires and get caught and I'll have to go and rescue it. So just placing this around the area that I don't want it to go, the Hoover will know just to not go there. So really, really useful if you have areas that you want to block off from the Hoover. Moving around to the side here, we of course get the power adapter. It's a super simple power adapter, just a UK to a DC end. If it's going to focus, a DC end there, which is going to connect up to the base. Let's get the Hoover out of the way because there's a ton more accessories under this. So let's just place it out of the way for the moment and we'll come back to it. Where do we start? Do you know what? Let's talk about the remote control. So this thing actually comes with a remote control. And you have quite a few different modes that you can use. For example, the mop feature. You can also direct it yourself, start it and stop it, as well as set it to auto and make it go home. Now, I really don't see myself using this remote. I don't know why I was given a remote, purely because everything that you need to do should be done through the app or at least automated. I guess if you don't want to have to fiddle about with the app or voice assistants, this is a nice, easy way to be able to control the vacuum cleaner. You of course get batteries in the box, which is really nice. Two AAA batteries for your remote. What else do we have here? Okay, so what are these? These appear to just be cable ties. Yes, so you do get a box of cable ties, and this is going to allow you to just tidy up the cable and make sure that you don't have a load of loose cabling dangling around when you're connecting up the base. We have a little mop and duster piece on the back here, which will help to both mop the floors and to dust certain areas of the floor as well. We of course do get a green and a red, so a left and a right little brush. These things spin and just push everything into the middle of the Hoover. If you've had robotic vacuum cleaners before, all of this should be pretty self-explanatory for you. And we of course get the base itself. Now, what I am slightly disappointed by is the lack of additional filters for the Hoover. You'll have to buy those separately by the looks of it. But this is the base, and I'm actually loving this black and white look. It's really, really simple, and a lot smaller than I was expecting as well, so it should be able to sit in an area quite nicely. Let's take away the cardboard box and bring back over the Hoover, and we can discuss a little more about it. Okay, so here we are with the actual Hoover itself. And once again, we've got that really nice black, white and silver look, which I think is incredibly elegant. And it would actually be one of the reasons that I were to buy a Hoover like this. My flat is very light and airy. I've got a lot of white walls. I've got a lot of this kind of colour wood. So this kind of colour scheme fits perfectly within my flat. The black ones just sort of stick out and look a little bit out of place. So in a more modern home, something like this white one would probably be pretty appealing. Okay, so let's take a look around the Hoover itself. You're probably going to notice one thing in that it doesn't actually have a LiDAR sensor on the top here. So there is no way for it to know exactly where it is going. It can't scan the room like many of the other Honitures do. If you want to see a review of a much more expensive model that does have the LiDAR, then you can check that out up there or in the description down below as well. Instead, this one is more like a Roomba. We can see that it's going to shoot out its light from the front here and simply bash into things. When it hits something, it knows to move away and start moving elsewhere. So let's flip it onto its butt and take a look at the underside, where we can have a look at those beefy old wheels. Now I'm going to have to adjust my lighting slightly. There we go. Let's just zoom in on those wheels, because these things are big and they are beefy. So there they are. These things are really nice actually, because what this is going to mean, because you've got nice big wheels, it's going to be able to traverse basically anywhere it needs to. It can get up and down or short curbs, and sometimes when you've got between a doorway, you've got a little hump, it should have no trouble getting over these and doing multiple rooms as well. In the middle, we have the main brush, which is super easy to take out and replace if needs to. And we also do get a brush, which I'll show you in a minute, which will just help to cut and tidy up this brush if any hair gets caught in it. And trust me, living with my partner and a rabbit, you're going to get a lot of hair stuck around. So we can take both the red and the green little brushes here and attach them to both the red and the green areas on the Hoover. So let's just zoom out a bit and we can see those. And they're as simple as clipping on to the correct side. So 1 and 2. It really is that simple. So on the back here, we can see the reservoir. This reservoir is mainly for water. So you can use the mopping feature of this robotic vacuum cleaner, which actually will come in handy. A lot of the robotic vacuum cleaners, particularly at this price point, between the £100 and £200, don't have things like these reservoirs. So actually, I think that could be a real bonus here. Let's flip it back over and take a look at the interface. Now, there are actually only 2 buttons here. Let's just lift it up slightly and we can see those there. we've got power, and we've got home. You are not meant to be able to really control this thing from the Hoover itself. That's why you've got the remote, and that's why we have all of the smart features built into this. We can see a little lip on the front, and if we lift that up, that gives us access to our dustbin, as well as the filters here as well. Now, as I mentioned, you do only get the one filter, which is this one here. It is unfortunate that we don't get any spares. It would have been really nice to see, but they are fairly easy to come by online if you do need to. And we have a little brush as well, which will help to just tidy, clean up and cut any excess hair and make sure that you're maintaining the actual Hoover itself. So let's just push it down. Let's power it on, grab the app and get it all set up, and I'll show you just how easy that is to do. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pre-downloaded the app ready to go. I've already logged in, and this is our home page. Now we can see along the top here, we have a little plus button. Tapping that gives us a range of Hoovers that we can connect. In this case, I'm connecting the G20. It's telling me to ensure that it is in pairing mode, and I do that by holding down both the power and home button. So let's do that. 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, perfect. Confirm that the blue light is flashing, which we can see it is. So we tick that box and we click next. I have to put in my password for this Wi-Fi network, so let me quickly add that now. So now I've provided a password, it now is asking me to go into my Wi-Fi settings and to connect to the actual Hoover itself. So we're going to go into Wi-Fi at the top and choose the Hoover, which we should be able to see in our menu here. That's the one, the Smart Life, so we click there. Head back into the app. It's already pre-connected, so it's going to just scan, make sure that it has a stable connection, make sure that the Wi-Fi password I gave it is actually correct, and within a couple of minutes, there we go. It is connected and ready to go. Now we can name it and get it ready for use. So I'm going to go ahead and rename it. So before we go ahead and take a look at the app and all of the smart features, let's just go into my living room, let this thing do its thing, clean my carpet, and we can have a time lapse of that, and I can have a chat through of how I think it's going. And then we'll come back, have a look at the app, have a little bit of a debrief, and maybe even attach that mop and check out some of those mopping features, because I'm particularly interested in those. So let's go. Okay, so there it is down there. I'm inside of the app. I tap the on button, just in the middle there, and away it goes. Okay, so I'm in the app at the moment. I'm actually quite happy to talk while this thing is on because it's not making a ton of noise, which is one of its advantages. So if we look in the app under the More section at the bottom here, we do have a load of different options. For example, we can change the suction level from gentle to normal to strong. We have water control as well, but for the moment I haven't actually attached the water module, so we're not going to worry about that. We have a cleaning record section so we can see when it's cleaned and how it's doing. I'm going to stick it into carpet booster and carpet mode as well, which should help it, particularly here, getting some of those tougher stains up. We have a volume control. This is actually, the volume control is for the voice over the actual machine, I believe. If I put it on max, yep, doesn't seem to change. That is for the voice rather than the Hoover itself. So when we go into work mode, we have a few different options. We have sweep and mop, mop and sweep. For now, we are sweeping because we just want to do a normal hoover rather than mopping as well. So let's go back to the home page and we can see the map section. So I did mention that this doesn't really do mapping, but it technically does. It's definitely not a smart map, but it is still mapping, and it's actually quite clever in the way that it does it. It knows when it hits something, so it knows that there is a wall there. It simply turns around and starts moving again, creating a fairly comprehensive map. We can see that it's done 2.1 meters squared in terms of its cleaning area, and it's been going for about 2 minutes. Let's just go out, and we can choose a few different modes as well. I'm happy to keep it in its smart mode at the moment. I'm going to let it do its thing. And let's do a quick time lapse and we can see how it gets on once it's finished. Okay, so I've actually come back to you now to talk about this because this is quite interesting. Notice how it appears to be just ignoring the black parts of my carpet. I assume this is because it believes it's a gap and it believes it's going to fall through it, which is quite interesting. So let's go ahead and drop it into manual mode and see if I can override it and make it go there instead. It is really not liking the black parts of my carpet, which is interesting. I get why, but at the same time, I feel like it probably should know the difference between a gap and a carpet. So there's also another black piece of carpet over here. Let's see if it's going to do the same thing again. Which it has. This is incredibly strange behaviour to note. So if you're like me and have black already on your carpet, this may not be the best solution for you because it is just going to not clean that part of your carpet. Let's try maybe a different mode. That was on the edge detection. I also did it on smart, but it seems to just not want to do it at all. Okay, so now I'm controlling it myself in the manual mode. Maybe I can push it to head on to the black part of my carpet. Can I? Or is it just going to push itself away? It looks like it's just going to push itself away, which is a real shame. I was really hoping that this would be the perfect hoover for my environment. However, seeing this, I just don't think it's going to be. Just out of interest, I'm going to pick it up, put it on my black piece of carpet, turn it back on, and then see if it's going to do it. So now we can see that I've actually put it on the black piece of my carpet. Let me just adjust the camera there. It is on the black piece of my carpet, and it simply just moved itself away. It really doesn't want to know about the darker parts of my carpet. However, it seems okay on the black part of my Peloton mat, which again is strange. So off it goes into my hallway to continue its cleaning. Let's leave it to do its thing and go back to it once it's done. So if we actually take a look at all the other areas around the black, it's done an incredible job. It's done a really good job of cleaning. It is just unfortunate that it seems to not want to clean the black parts because of those sensors on the bottom. What I would love to see is a way to disable those sensors in the app, because I know there's nowhere that this robot can fall. I don't have any large gaps for it to fall over or fall down. So to be able to disable those downward facing sensors would be ideal. In terms of plus points, I've got to say it is one of the most quiet robotic vacuum cleaners I've ever owned, and has done an incredible job in the carpet busting mode, particularly on the grayer areas. Ironically, it is okay with running over the Peloton mat there, which is also black, but I assume the slight gloss of the material is helping it to understand that it is not a threat. Okay, so I've brought it back and flipped it onto its butt, ready to add the mop and give some of those mopping functions a try, because I'm really interested in how it's going to do it. Now, if it's anything like any of the other previous Hoovers that I've owned, it actually doesn't know the difference between carpet and hardwood flooring, which does mean you need to be a little bit careful, because it's gonna wet your carpet if you don't look after it and make sure that it's not going where you don't want it to. Now, of course, the actual reservoir can be pulled out, and you're going to add the water into the top here. There's a little bung, add your water in, and let it go. So let's go ahead and check out some of the mopping features now. Okay, so I've added all of the water into the reservoir, and it's now ready to change its settings. So I can go into the More settings on the app. This time, change the water control to medium, and the work mode will be sweep and mop. Then we click on and watch it do its thing. And away it goes, learning its environment and understanding exactly where it can and cannot go. We can see that water streak that it is leaving behind. It is quite a large water streak, but it will of course dry itself off over time. It again seems to be doing a pretty good job overall of mopping my floor. These kinds of mopping features I've never really liked on these kinds of devices, just because they've never really been that great. However, here I think it's doing a pretty good job overall. I think for most households, this is an almost perfect Hoover, other than that really big issue of it just not liking black carpets. This is probably, of course, something they can update over time, and I will reach out to Honiture to find out exactly what's going on and if they have any kind of way that we could potentially fix this, because it is a major flaw. So just follow it round as it finishes its mopping cycle. So what are my final thoughts on the G20 by Honiture? I actually think this is a really good robotic vacuum cleaner. It has very high suction power and has done a really good job on the parts of the carpet that it would actually do. And that mopping function did an incredible job as well. It didn't leave really watery streaks, and it managed to control its water pretty well, which is something that many of the other Hoovers I've used in the past simply cannot do. The app is really nicely laid out, and it's really easy to automate that cleaning process, from setting up times, as well as changing all of those different aspects, from how much suction it gives, how quiet it is, how loud it is, as well as also the mapping feature, which, though nice, could do with a little bit of work. Now, of course, we have to talk about the downsides, and it's a pretty big downside. As I mentioned before, and as you saw, it simply didn't like the black parts of my carpet. I assume this is because those downward fall sensors, so that it doesn't fall downstairs and such, are just being fooled by it, because it doesn't quite understand that there is something there or there is not something there. So it simply goes up to it, has a think about it, and then moves off again and tries somewhere else. And it's a real shame. I think this is something that you might be able to fix via a software update, even just giving me the option to disable fall detection, because there's nowhere in my flat this thing is actually going to fall. So disabling fall detection will allow it to properly clean the whole of my space without me having to kind of pick it up, put it on the black piece and go clean here, because again, it just goes, I don't know where I am, and moves right back off again. I've never had this with any of the other cleaning products that I've used in the past. This is the only vacuum cleaner that's actually done this, making me think that the fall detection is maybe just a little bit too aggressive in this case. Overall then, for £140 or £250, depending on whether you get that discount or not, I actually think this is one of the best robotic vacuum cleaners on the market if you have the right environment for it. If you're like me and have much darker carpets, then it's just not going to work for you, and it is a real shame. However, if you have nice light carpets or maybe even laminate flooring, it will do an impeccable job of both cleaning, dusting and mopping your floors, and does it reliably. With a large battery, like this thing was going for 45 minutes to an hour and still had some battery left over, but still went home because it had done everything that it could. So as I mentioned, I will be reaching out to Honiture to find out if there's anything we can do about this fall detection, and maybe I can do a follow-up review very soon talking about how we've managed to fix this issue, if there is a fix at all. Anyway guys, why don't you let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the G20. Are you going to pick one up? If you do be sure to use the Amazon affiliate links in the description down below. If you use that link, it is free for you, but it gives me a little bit of a kickback, and every little helps, it really does. Anyway guys, my name's been Robert, this has been Review Clue, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.